Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to sift through that stack of information you've got and pull out the really crucial stuff, basically giving you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today, we're diving into material about something, fundamental of language, building your English vocabulary. It's a skill that, affects every single word you use. So our mission here is to look at the practical, actionable strategies from your sources for really boosting that vocabulary quickly, finding that efficient way to be more articulate, more expressive, without all the usual hassle.
Yeah, absolutely. And vocabulary, it's not just memorizing lists, right? It's truly the foundation. The more words you have at your disposal, the better you can express complex thoughts, and maybe even more importantly, understand what others are really saying. It genuinely enhances how you communicate.
Something that really jumped out at me from the material was this common problem. Why is it so hard to remember new words? Even when you look them up diligently, it feels like they just vanish. And the sources, they point to something really interesting. The difference between just rote memorization and actually learning in context. You see a random list like Apple, democracy, fragile, interrupt. How long do those stick? Probably not very long.
Right. And the why behind that is fascinating. Isolated words, your brain doesn't really know what to do with them. There are no strong connections. It's kind of like trying to remember phone numbers without any context.
Yeah.
But put them in a sentence. Something like, she interrupted me while I was eating an apple. That was fragile behavior. Oh, suddenly there's a little story. There's meaning. Your brain forms stronger neural pathways. It links the word to a situation, the usage. So it's not just the definition you learn, it's how the word works.
Oh.
And it makes it stick.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it's less about the dictionary entry and more about the lived experience of the word, almost. So if context is king, how do we get more of it? Daily. Your material points to something pretty straightforward. Daily immersion, just reading and listening. And the good news is it doesn't have to be, tackling massive novels right away.
Yeah.
The sources mention things like children's stories, short articles, even podcasts like this one.
Exactly. And there's a key technique sort of embedded in that strategy. It's about making it active. The idea is when you encounter a new word, try to guess its meaning first, just from the context, from the sentences around it, before you reach for the dictionary.
So like playing detective a bit.
Sort of, yeah. That process, that guessing and then confirming, it trains your brain to infer meaning naturally. It becomes less like homework, more like figuring things out. It makes the whole learning process feel more organic and honestly helps you remember things much better. You're building intuition.
Okay, so we're immersing ourselves, we're guessing meanings.
Mm-hmm.
What about actively collecting these words? Your material mentions a tool that, it sounds simple, maybe a bit old school, but apparently very effective. A dedicated vocabulary notebook. And the format seems specific. You write the word, the meaning, and then this seems crucial in an example sentence, like the example given, word. Motivate, meaning to give someone a reason to act. Sentence, my teacher motivates me to study. Simple, right?
Deceptively simple, maybe. But the psychology behind it is quite powerful, the physical act of writing it down. That helps. But combining that with regular review, that's what really transforms these words from just fleeting ideas into something more permanent in your long-term memory. It's about active creation. You're not just consuming, you're building your own personal resource and reinforcing it.
Right, building that personal library. Okay, so we've learned it in context, maybe written it down, but just knowing isn't quite enough, is it? The sources emphasize needing to actually use the words, activating them. Which leads to the next strategy, speaking practice, getting these new words off the page and, into the air. The material really encourages actively working them into daily speech, whether you're chatting with friends or I guess even just talking to yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Talking to yourself works too. The point is, using the words in real situations, even simulated ones, is what cements them. It makes them readily available when you need them later. It's turning that passive knowledge into active linguistic skill. Muscle memory for your mouth, almost.
Aha, I like that. Linguistic muscle memory.
So, for instance, you learn excited. Don't just file it away. Try to actually say it. I'm really excited to watch this movie tonight. Using it makes it yours. It moves from theory to practice, which is key for fluency.
Makes sense. Okay, and for those of us who, live on our phones or computers, what about technology? Your material brings us up too, highlighting apps. It specifically mentions things like Quizlet, Anki, Memrise as good tools for review.
Yeah, and those apps are often built around a really effective method, flashcards. But digital flashcards with a twist. Usually you'll have the English word on one side, then the meaning and an example sentence on the other. Pretty standard.
Yeah.
But the real power often comes from something called active recall and spaced repetition.
Okay, what do those mean exactly?
Active recall is basically self-testing. You see the word, you force your brain to retrieve the meaning rather than just passively reading it again. You try, then you check. And spaced repetition, well, that's the clever part. The app's algorithm figures out when you're just about to forget a word and shows it to you again right then.
So it optimizes the review timing.
Precisely. It makes the whole process incredibly efficient. You spend your time on the words you most need to review. It significantly speeds up learning and especially retention.
Wow, okay, that sounds like a smart way to use study time. So let's just quickly recap the main strategies we pulled from the material today. 5 key things. First, learn words in context, ditch those random lists. Your brain likes stories. Second, daily immersion through reading and listening, even short stuff, and actively guess meanings first. Third, that dedicated vocabulary notebook. Word, meaning, example sentence, write it down. Fourth, activate your words, use them in conversations, practice speaking them. And fifth, leverage technology apps like Anki or Quizlet that use flashcards, active recall, and that spaced repetition thing. The sources suggest that consistent effort with these methods really does lead to faster progress. It's the shortcut.
It is. And perhaps a final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. If growing your vocabulary genuinely expands your ability to express yourself and understand the world more deeply, just think, what new ideas, what different perspective, what interesting connections might you uncover simply by adding, say, 5 or 10 new words to your toolkit each week? How could that shift not just your language ability, but maybe even how you see things, how you process information? It's quite profound when you think about it.
That's a powerful question. Definitely something to consider on your own deep dive into learning. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.